Hello, hello, my Let's Keep It Real people, and talk about keeping it real. My next guest, Scott, before I bring him on, Bywater, was nice enough to get up very early so he could be on our show. He lives in Australia. And you know how much I love Australia. I might be biased, but everybody I meet from Australia, it's just so nice. So I can't wait. Just a little bit about Scott. Scott is, we've never had this on before, is one of the most sought after marketing copywriters in Australia, who runs what many regard as the highest level private marketing group in Australia, Elite Marketeers. He is the creator of the online you have to go over this with me, email ROI system course for over the past 21 years. All right, we'll get into that, but let's start with one word. One word that best describes your past 30 days and why you picked that word.
Oh, that's a question I haven't been asked before, but I think the one word is probably mastering discipline, right? So one of the things that I've really been thinking about the last 30 days is that life is won in sort of 5 seconds, 3 to 5 second increments. And what I mean by that is that when you wake up, like your whole day is defined, or your morning is defined by whether you wake up when the alarm clock goes up. So for me, there's 3 things that happen in the morning which allow me to win the day. One is when I wake up in those 3 to 5 seconds. The next one is when I have even though it's the middle of the winter now, I have a cold shower, not fully cold shower. I start with hot and then I go with cold. But when I flick the switch on that shower to cold, I win. That's the second time that I see myself as winning the day, because there's all these health benefits of cold showers. And then the third thing I do is when I walk down into my gym and do my first squat to kick off the day. So there's 3 things, and I know if I do that first part of it, if I flick the shower, if I get out of bed, if I do that first squat, I never do the first squat and don't do the whole workout. I never flick the shower for 1 to 2 minutes and don't do it. I never get out of bed and don't do everything else that's in, don't brush my teeth, take my vitamins, do all that sort of thing. So there's little, and it's like after dinner, right? Leave the kitchen so you don't get any food. That only takes 3 to 5 seconds to actually walk away from the kitchen and go and do something else. But it makes a massive impact on your life if you master those 3 to 5 second increments.
Scott, I never thought of it that way. And by the way, I didn't even know he was going to touch on that because the subject matter is so different for me. But
Neither did I.
Behind me, all the books and journals I write is Train Your Head, Your Body Will Follow. It's all about the 1 to 3 minutes in your morning routine.
Yeah.
Not prompt Scott to say that at all. I didn't even know that was coming out of his mouth. All right, so I might have to change my theme, because my big thing in the morning before my feet hit the ground, I think of one word of how I want to show up for the day. So I take a deep breath in and I pick love, joy, peace, power, whatever. And then my feet hit the ground. And then downstairs, write my word, journal, blah, 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 workout. I didn't prompt him for that either. But, the Tony Robbins cold shower thing, I can't get there. I just can't get there. I do wash my face with cold water. Does that count? Okay. But they're going to be curious now. And I get, you're right, 3 to 5 seconds. It's the thing. 3 to 5 seconds in the shower. The squat. How long is your full workout?
I say my workouts don't go for a long time. Like I will do, like when I exercise, it's probably only 15 minutes, but it's quite intense. So I will go to the gym often with my son in the evening as well. But I like to do that in the morning, providing I don't have, like, as long as I've got a 90-minute set in the morning, because I will tend to wake up, have a cup of tea and work for about 90 minutes and then go into, shower. A little bit different this morning because I'm up at 6, but then I'll go into the shower, the workout. But the workout's only like 15 minutes, but it's intense. It's based on sort of Matt Fury's, I think he calls it the Royal Court or something, and it's much harder than going to the gym. And it's all body work exercises.
All right, so back up there. You work for 90 minutes first, and then you get in the shower.
Yes.
And then you work out after your shower. I just want to make sure. Is that true?
Yeah. So I'll get up. I will work for 90 minutes. Like I'll initially have like a cup of tea, and I take this stuff called Smirty, and I do that. And then after I've had the cup, after I've done that and done some affirmations, I'll work for 90 minutes. And then I have a 90 minutes where I will then, and that was based on, I changed my routine after Craig Ballantyne. So he's got like the perfect morning routine program or something like that, which was quite good. And that was like work straight away. And I find that works for me because it's like you're very, very clear in the morning. And then I'll go into my routine after that. And then recap. So I tend to do that work from about 6 to 7:30, 7:30 till 9, do the routine, and then 9 o'clock start the day. Yeah, start the day again, round 2.
I like that. I was polling people from around the country. I don't like to say, what's your biggest problem? You know how when you speak on subjects, you have to solve a problem and you're the solution. I go, let's not think of the problems. Tell me what you want. I'm all about, let's get you what you want. And the top 3 things for executives were, number 1, I want to have more energy to do what I want to do. Number 2, I want to be able to focus more on what I want to do. And number 3 is get out of that negative chatter quicker so they can stay more in the positive. And I believe it doesn't have to be your routine, but it really matters that you have that routine and it just builds up over time. So like, this is just what you do. It's hard to break you from that, right? I mean, you get up, you do the 90 minutes, then you go to that, then you go to this, and then you go to that. And it keeps you in high energy and focused into a positive headset. For me, I have an accountability call with a bunch of mastermind people at 9:30 in the morning after they've worked out, after they've done some work, and we do it Monday through Friday, and it keeps our head in the game, So it's just whatever works for you. And my brain does wake up at 10 o'clock and go, okay, let's create. So I am more of a night person. Like, that's just when I thought. So from 10 to midnight, I'm on, you know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go, but you got to find what works for you and your system. And so I like that you broke it down into 90-minute increments, because after that, you're done. You got to get up and do something, move around or something.
Yeah. And I don't do that deliberately. Like in that, I just find that 6 to 7:30 is like a good chunk in the morning where you get your most important stuff done and nobody sort of can do anything, bother you, all of that sort of thing. And then you have and I think it is always better to break it up where you have your focus time, then you have a break, and then you go back into focus time. Just for the mind, it makes sense.
I call it in the morning, and I like peas, but I eat my peas. So my least favorite things I do first thing in the morning. Now you could join me. There's something I do every hour, not every 90 minutes. I get up and I do a dance routine. So I do a dance routine. You can join me in that, Scott. Then it resets my brain, or I hug a tree. But every hour, I make sure I have that 5 minutes in there that I can do that, and then I reset, but I can't sit long. All right, so Scott, this is my sticky wick in your subject. Oh my gosh, if you could help me with this, I would love it, because the people out there know, put me on a stage, I'll talk to, I'll go for it. I've got my skill down, but the behind the scenes, the AI technology helping me out, the email list, it just seems overwhelming. And to you, this is like piece of cake. You'll get this done. No big deal, right? Once you got your system, it's easy. Is it? Do you think you could teach anyone, even me, who bucks the system? Not that I'm not good with technology, but it just seems so foreign to me. Like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah, it's all very new too, right? So a lot of the stuff I'm doing now with AI, I wasn't doing 6 months ago. So I think ChatGPT came out, what are we now, like July? Did it come out January, February? So it's like only in the last 6 months has it really hit the stream with the AI.
I'm not behind then. Okay, good.
Well, 6 months in AI land is a long time. That's the only thing. So
I've been using it a little.
Because I was playing around with Jasper last year, which was but then, and I actually created a whole program, and Jasper was part of that. And then I'm changing the whole program now because ChatGPT is just so incredible in terms of what it can do. So let's say if you do a speech, right, you can transcribe that. You can transcribe that speech. You can even upload it via a PDF called Ask Your PDF. I'll go a little bit technical here, but if you're using ChatGPT 4, you could upload that via a plugin called Ask Your PDF. I'm pretty sure you need ChatGPT 4 to do that. And then from there, you can start to feed it questions about your speech, or get it to cut up articles for you or emails for you. So the one thing that I tend to do when I work with a client is I will work out, for example, I've recently taken on a client, and the first step we did buyer persona interviews, which is quite deep, where we interview the clients, find out why they bought, find out, what it was based on Adele Ravella's 5 buying rings. So find out what instigated the decision, find out what the buyer's journey was, find out what the decision criteria was, all of that sort of thing through real conversations. Then we'll break that down and categorize that, and then go, okay, based on that, what sort of email should we be writing? And from there, we'll actually have a session where I'll interview the client and ask some questions specifically about the conversation that's going on in the customer's mind. Now, once we've done that interview, we can take that and carve it up and feed it into the AI, and get the AI to then look at all that information and then spit out an email. It needs some spin and polish and that sort of thing, but the foundation of the email is done. So if you're doing a talk, for example, there's going to be specific topics. Like in what we've done here, we've talked about, for example, that 3 to 5 second rule. Now we're talking about email marketing. So I could take the transcript of what we're talking about here and do an email about those 3 times in the morning, which actually make the day, by plugging it into the AI. So that's the power of it. Because for me, I've never had any issue writing emails. Like if I'm writing them for myself, it's different when I'm writing them for a client, but it will take me 15 minutes to write an email. But I talk to other people, they're like, I'm sitting there for 2 hours to write this email. And that's where AI is so great, because if you plug it in based on the system, you'll have an email written literally within seconds. You'll have the foundation of the email, which you can then go in and make your edits on it and that sort of thing.
You know, I get it. And I did use it for a piece of my speech. I said, you know, I wrote a poem. It's sort of cat in the hat. Like, can you make it more cat in the hat, like this little segment? And boom, it did. And it's awesome. But it was mostly my words first, and it just shifted it. When you're sending an email, don't you want it to sound like you? I mean, should you write it first? Like, you know, make it personal and just tweak it? Or it doesn't matter?
It's a good point, but that's where the power of the transcript comes in, right? So if you just say, hey, write me an email about email copywriting, for example, it's going to come out with generic information, which doesn't have much personality, doesn't have much of you in it. Yeah. However, if you write that email based on a transcript, that's all your knowledge, that's all your voice, that's right. Everything coming through from you. So it's more getting help because you're providing it with the raw data, right? So that's where combining two AIs, right? So if you look at, let's say, otter.ai, which could be recording everything that we're saying right now in real time, and then ChatGPT, feeding it from Otter into ChatGPT, and then it's coming out as your voice. You can even train the AI to then write in your voice by providing it with other emails which you've handwritten, so it starts to write in your your voice and language. So yeah, so there's ways of. I don't think people have grasped that aspect of it. There is ways to personalize it, and even when it's written with AI, there's a big difference between writing something with AI without the knowledge and foundation of what you're doing. It's a skill, right, to be able to do it with AI. And even from a copywriting, it doesn't take the skill out of it, because even from a copywriting perspective, like I was doing some emails yesterday and I'm like, yeah, it's spattered out there. I go, but the most important part of that email is stuck 3/4 into the copy. So I'm like, we need you to rewrite that email leading with this as the hook. So and then it will rewrite it. The subject line will be different. The way it's written is different. The content's the same, but it's rewritten with that as the hook. So that's where the skill also and the nuance and the understanding of your industry comes into it. Because if you didn't have that expertise, you couldn't get it to do that. So that's really important, because the AI, as smart as the AI is, it's also quite stupid, because at least now it can't think. It can't look at that and go, you know what, that's wrong. It should be that, or it should be this, etc. So that's something that the human mind can do, which the AI can't do.
Yeah. No.
Yes. So it's understanding the strength of it and the strength of you for where it's at now, and being able to use it as a tool to get things done with speed, so to speak. Yeah. So yeah.
So I have a bunch of questions. We're not going to get to all of them, people. You know, you have to reach out to Scott, but I always ask my peeps to send me in some questions for you. And one of the biggest questions, of course, was about AI, because it's so new. And the thing that I got over and over again, which was crazy, is, I'm just going to sum it up. We'll call Billy Bob. I make up a name. Billy Bob says he's in his 60s and he just can't get over the fact that he feels like he's cheating with AI. I get it. You know, he's like, listen, I'm in my 60s. Ask Scott, how can I get over the fact that I feel like I'm cheating? He's the CEO of a company, and all his, let's quote unquote, youngins are like, come on. You know, this is ridiculous. It's not cheating. But I think if you listen to the first part of this interview, you kind of summed it up, you know, because it really is, you put your stuff in and it's just enhancing it.
Yeah, and I think I mean, put it this way, if you're in a horse and cart and you jump in a car, you feel like you're cheating. If you're walking and you jump on a horse, you feel like you're cheating, right? So with each advancement in technology, it makes things easier. Like there was women once who had to like hand wash everything, not just women, men as well, but they had to hand wash everything. And then the washing machine came along. So it's really a similar concept to that.
Love that. Billy Bob, there's your answer. That's so true. You're right. They probably thought, oh my God, but what about all those people in the horse? I have a washing machine. Wait a minute. You're listening to radio? I have a TV. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing I love about it is it allows me, and particularly as a CEO, it allows me to focus more on the strategy, because I'm very, very good at strategy. And the copywriting, for example, is the grunt work, of actually doing the work, and it's time consuming and that sort of thing. Whereas now I can use my strategic brain to direct it. And even when I write copy now, I won't obsess over getting it perfect, because I can write the copy and then I can feed it into the AI in terms of the structure, the way it should be written, all of that sort of thing. And I can feed it into the AI. So I do everything I can now with AI, because I know it's the way of the future. And why wouldn't you want to master that, that skill? Because when you do, it gives you an overwhelming advantage over your competitors who are slow to the uptake.
I know, even I was putting together a TEDx talk, and all I did is plug in for a title that would be highly searched. And man, oh man, it was so helpful. And I changed my whole way of the presentation at the beginning so that it reflected that search engine of a TEDx talk that would be searched. And someone's like, I don't know if that's fair. I go, it didn't write my TEDx. All it did is give me a title that would be searched a lot, which is, don't you want that? If be searched a lot if you did a TEDx. So how do you feel about that? I mean, I don't think it's cheating.
I think it's fine. I mean, doing a Google search was cheating once. So and I think the more you play around with the AI, you discover that it is all about the prompts. So the better information that you feed into it, the better the data that's going to come out of it. So it is actually work when you do it, when you do it well. It is work to do it. It's a different type of work, because you still need to massage that AI. It's not going to just come up with stuff out of the blue. So for example, I do something with, when I first take on a client, I'll often do something called a copy strategy guide, right? Where we understand the customers, the emotional hot buttons, the core story of the client, the unique selling proposition of the client, the whole customer journey once they come on, the avatar. And what I will do is I'll do the avatar and the core story and the uniqueness of the client. I'll do that one-on-one, and then I'll feed that data into the AI to then come up with, okay, what are the emotional hot buttons for this client as an example, and it'll take everything into account that it's already seen. So the better the data you can feed in, the better the end result. So if you like being strategic and thinking high end, because I think who wins the AI in the AI world is the strategic thinkers, because it can make you very lazy, where you just go, I just punch this out, punch that out, or it can make you smart. Now, where it's interesting, right? Because everyone's got access to this technology. It means there's going to be a whole heap more content out there than ever, right? But if people are most people, if we look at the 80-20 rule, are going to use it really badly. So it's a little bit like a chainsaw. You can use a chainsaw to cut up wood really fast, or you can use it to chop your arm off, right? It can do two things. Now, if you use AI badly, and I've seen it used badly, then it can do immense damage, if it's not used well. So it's understanding how to use it well is really the key to success.
What do you mean by you've seen it badly? Give us an example.
I saw someone send an email out to an SMS out to their clients, and it was their change of rules, and I'm like, that had to be written by ChatGPT, and it was it was really long, and it wasn't exactly positive, and I'm like, because ChatGPT is not going to get all the nuances, right? So that's an example of it being used, and I'm like, they can't write like that, the way that's written. So I don't think they wrote it. So that's an example of it. Or just having generic information, anything like generic, it can be 100% AI, but 100% AI with quality AI is very different than 100% AI without quality AI.
Yeah, I get it. And I know what you're talking about, because I saw somebody do a speech, and I'm thinking, I don't know about this. I think I heard that somewhere else, and it's true. It's being recycled. Okay.
Yes.
Most businesses, I have to ask you about this. Emails suck. What sucks about them, Scott?
In terms of,
they're negative.
I think that the big thing is entering the conversation in the customer's mind. So the number one reason they suck is because they're irrelevant, or they go two ways. Most people go two ways. They either do the scorched earth approach, where they sell, and they might get a sale today, but it costs them the relationship, because it's like every time I call you, Sandy, and I want to sell you my network, every time I call you, I'm like trying to pitch you my network marketing business as an example. Eventually, you stop answering those phone calls. And it's the same with email. If every time I'm emailing you, it's to get something, to extract something out of you, then you stop opening my emails. So the key with email is what I call, it's true, right?
True.
Yeah. It's like
delete. Not you, Scott. I'm just.
It's human nature, right? If it's always a sales pitch, it gets ignored. So what I like, but at the same stage, then other people go through and they're like, I'm just going to write love letters to my list, and I'm never going to ask them for anything. So the real key with this is, and if you don't ask for anything, you generally don't generate sales. You may, you will over time, because you build trust and get people over the line. But what I like to do is something that's called the third way, which is, if you can imagine a Venn diagram, it's in the middle of those two. So every email starts out with quality content. But then it segues into, I like to segue into an offer for more information. Okay, so once you download that information, then it can have, if you're selling consulting services, it can have then a pitch to actually book an appointment with you. And that's how you can start to book your calendar solid using email without coming across as salesy, in the process. So for example, if I want to sell a life coaching service, right? I might start off by saying, hey, one of that, you win the morning, similar to what we started off with today. So you win the morning in 5-second increments. For example, there's 3 places when I win my morning. Number 1, when I wake up, that takes 5 seconds. Number 2, when I have a cold shower, that takes 5 seconds. Number 3, when I go down and I do my first squat, that takes 5 seconds to actually do it. And everything else follows from there. Okay, so this is all my email, right? It's all adding value. Yeah, and the whole key, and if you look at what this is, it's moving from, it's those 5 seconds when you move from comfort to discomfort, which is the hardest part of the day. So if you know that, you go, you know what, there's only 3 things I need to do to win my morning. Okay, and they involve doing comfort to discomfort, but the rewards, the pleasure is so much greater than the pain. Yeah, because it's like 15 seconds of pain, that's it. Because it's not, once you turn the cold water on, as an example, the next 1 to 2 minutes, they're not painful. It's the thought before you turn it on, and the first 5 seconds, which is like painful, right? But this is all in the email. This is all in the email. But you know what? They're the 3 things, but there's one thing that you can do at lunchtime, which will boost your energy, to extraordinary levels. And, based on this Harvard scientist study, it just gets incredible results, and it does this and it does that. And, you can find out, I've just created a special report about it, and you can download it here. Okay, so to get that report, so I've given you value in the beginning, but if you want to get your hands on that report, you need to take the next step, right? And I've teased you, and I've created an open loop in your mind, because the human mind responds to curiosity, right? That's why at the end of every morning show, there's a cliffhanger. Come back after the break and we will introduce you to Josh, the talking monkey who juggles bananas, and you're like, oh, I've got to come back after the break to meet the talking monkey. So every TV show does that. There's always a cliffhanger at the end of the show to get you to go to the next one. And email should be exactly the same, except in fact, you should have 2 cliffhangers in the email. One is the one I just showed you to get you to click, and the other one is a PS. This is if you're organized, right? So PS, on my next email, I'm going to be showing you X strategy. So keep an eye out for it. And then it's modeling what we know is best practice from television.
So Scott, how much do you use social media versus emails?
I mean, I personally will tend to cut up my emails and put it on social media, which I think makes it has some nuances, right? Like if you're going to be using Instagram, you need to like have a good image to go with it and that sort of thing, which you might use Midjourney for, something like Midjourney, which is another AI image software, which I am not fully across that, but I know people who are, and it's just phenomenal. So it has nuances to it, and you can cut up emails to be much shorter in social media, and you may not do the sales pitch in social media as hard as you do an email, but this is how they work together, right? So email is the fastest path to the sale. Okay, so I've always found that if you want to monetize, if you want to generate revenue, the best way to do it is via email. According to litmus.com, it gets a 36 to 1 ROI for every $1 you invest in email, which is much higher than social media. And so that's why I think when someone neglects their email list, it's like it's a mortal sin. It's like going down to the Grand Canyon and just getting $20,000 and throwing it off a cliff in a suitcase. Like it's really bad to ignore your email list. So that's why I just love email, probably more than 20,000, right? Like depending on the size and the relationship and that, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars you're just tossing away for no good reason. So, but it also makes social media work better, right? So one of the things I'm a big fan of is having lots of white papers that people can go and download, so that, let's say there's 10 topics that you talk about in your social media. As, let's say, a coach, for example, let's say it's a life coach, you might have, the morning routine, breaking bad habits. I mean, I'm sure there's like heaps of them, right? They're not coming to me at the moment. How to sleep better, whatever they are, right? How to have more confidence. So you have white papers on all of these topics. Okay, so you can use these white papers to get people to join your email list, because at the end of it, you can talk about confidence and you say, okay, that's great, but if you'd like more on this topic, or you can have an open loop, then go and download my confidence report. And then that gets them to join your email list. But then on your email list, you can give them access to all these other reports to then move them from your email list then into an appointment. Because if I download the confidence report, I get emails specifically about confidence. And then which are all booking me into an appointment specifically about how to boost my confidence, right? Because different people have, within every industry, like if you're a digital marketer, your clients might be interested in Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, automation. Like there's a whole heap of things that they might be interested in. So you want to bring them into the funnel specifically about that, and then talk about that. And then, because they've got a specific problem that they need solved right now. So what you're talking about is very relevant.
Most of the questions I got, that was what they were asking, is they were believing emails were secondary to making sure they posted every single day on social media. And some of them even said they tore their email lists, like how much they sent out, by 50% to be able to focus more on social media. Well, not according to you.
No, I think that's a mistake. It's a whole rule, right? Is if you look at, I forget he was a famous guy in the personal development industry. He said, if you want to know what to do, look at what everyone else is doing and do the opposite. And
I said that. I know that.
I'm just trying to think of, he's one of the, I think he did the Greatest Secret was one of his books. I'm just trying to think of the
Ask AI.
Yeah, the name off the top of my head, but no, but it's looking at that, right? But the whole thing with social media is much better for your ego, right? So what I mean by that is, if I send a social media post out, within half an hour, I've got multiple likes, multiple comments. It's far more engaging, right? So I'm getting the dopamine hits to my brain, and I feel really good about myself. But generally there's no money coming in as a result of that. I can't I can't take the money from those likes and say, you know what, I want to go for a holiday to Hawaii. Call the travel agent, go, I got 100 likes and 53 comments on my social media posts in the last 7 days. Can I book a holiday to Hawaii with that? It just, like, life doesn't work that way. So whereas email, you'll find that you will get less of that, because there's nowhere to like to start with. I can't like an email, and I got to be pretty motivated to respond, because it's just not that sort of platform. So often you'll send an email out and you'll hear crickets. You'll hear nothing. In terms of, you can see it in the analytics, like people might click and download and all that sort of thing. But then you'll talk to people and they're like, oh, I get your emails all the time and I love them and all of that sort of thing. So the other benefit with email is you own the platform. So doesn't matter which social media platform it is, each of those social media platforms can, and we've seen that, like, particularly over the last few years, right? We've seen people get deplatformed for no reason. We've seen them get shadow banned for no reason. We've seen all of this sort of thing happen. So if you say the wrong thing on social media, they can get rid of you. What cannot happen, because it's their platform, it's their property, you're on their property. So whereas with email, that's your email list. You can take that email list and you can upload it to a new CRM. You can back it up. That's actually an asset. And if you sell your business, okay, that asset, if you're looking to sell your business and you basically say that asset generates me 50 appointments a year, that becomes a very valuable asset. And far more, the social media will still have an asset value, but a buyer is going to see that as a riskier asset than an email list. And an email list, if you're using it right, will get you a higher ROI, but it will leverage. The job of social media, in my opinion, is to get people off social media into your email list so that you can monetize them, because they're hard to monetize. They're much harder to monetize. You can definitely monetize via social media, but it is harder to monetize via social media. And when you put your posts out, what percentage of people see them on social media? It's a lot greater when they get an email from you, and you've got them in a controlled, like when they're reading that email, they're in a controlled setting. You're the only focus. If they open that email, you're the only focus. There isn't like, I scroll for 1 second and I'm looking at another post.
I know that firsthand because I sold my health clubs in 2019 and I sold my email list separately.
Yes.
And my business partner at the time, he's like, this is worth a lot more. We got a massive email list because I had been in business since 1993. So that was
wow.
Lots of health clubs and lots. And I didn't even think of that. And so I know firsthand, this makes so much sense, and yet I was feeling guilty before this that I wasn't doing more of the social media, but now I feel better now. It does make me happy, Sandy, when you say, "Oh, they like my bit," and I keep getting hit like, "You got to take more pictures, you got to post more." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll try," but I feel better.
And they tie in together, right? Like the social media, the email, even then having like blog posts and that sort of thing, so you can get the long-term juice from the posts. So content is content, and it can be cut up and carved up in lots of different ways.
Yeah, the same stuff, repurpose it, and you don't have
to.
I always try to recreate the wheel, but you don't have to. You can use it over here and over here. Oh my goodness, Scott, this is awesome. Okay, so let's back up a second. Were you always strategic, methodical, and organized, and a great writer? I mean, have you been this way for a long time?
No, so I wasn't. I remember when I was into my early 20s, I think I wrote something and I actually presented it, because I was presenting in the early days of internet marketing, right? It was quite funny because there was me who didn't actually have much experience at the time, and you'd have like the CEOs of these big companies going to these internet marketing conferences. And I remember writing something for that. And I was working for a company that it wasn't my father-in-law, my sister's husband's father. I don't know what you call that. But anyway, he looked at it, he goes, "What's this crap you're writing?" So I obviously wasn't a great writer back then, but it all really came from practice in terms of doing it. So I think, and it came from the sales background. So I was involved in sales from about the age of 17 till the age of 24. And then I decided I went to a seminar by a marketer, and he's like, "Start a business, get a lease and start a business." So I started up a hairdressing salon, and that's when I learned copywriting and marketing. And we were very, very green at the time, and it was a tough experience. It was like a feet to the fire type of experience. and we didn't win. But I did learn, about, hey, if you write stuff, you can bring in clients, and we hand out flyers on the street and all that sort of thing. So we actually did okay from a marketing perspective. And not so good in staff management and money management and all that sort of thing. But then after that, I set up I actually didn't have any money, like really no money. But I took a classified ad, which was $18. And I think I got it on credit, and it said, marketing genius, proven results. And I got a client from that. And then I would get another client, I get another client, these classified ads, right? And from there, I was still, I wouldn't say I was killing it. It was the early days, but I was making enough to survive. And then my now wife saw this ad for quite a large publication for a copywriter. And long story short, I went for the job, but I didn't get the job, but I got the confidence because the copywriting manager loved me and the HR manager didn't. Because my CV wasn't, that predictable, been here for that long, been there for that long, all of that sort of thing. So I got the confidence, and then I set myself up as a copywriter, and I 10x my income literally overnight as soon as I repositioned myself as a copywriter. Now, what that was a real lesson to me in terms of, by changing, if you get your positioning right, it can be massive. Now, it's probably different today, because back then, when I started out, there wasn't many copywriters, right? So I hit the market when there was a need, and it was like you were in demand, and there wasn't many of you. But there's industries like that now, for example, AI. Whereas if you position yourself as like this, let's say this AI person, you might kill it because you hit the market at the right time. It's a bit like riding a wave. If you hit that wave at the right time, you ride it. If you're too early, you miss it. And if you're too late, you just get smashed, right? Well, I got it right at the right time by chance, not by any level of skill at the time. And it was like, oh, this is awesome. So that's sort of, and then it was just practice. Because I started from that sales background, I was quite naturally good at copy, because copy is salesmanship in print. But it also allowed me to get lots of work, to get good, because I was good at sales. So that allowed me to generate business to get better. So yeah.
It's a different industry, but it's a similar path. I was in corporate sales forever, selling wellness products. And then somebody asked me to privately train them. There weren't many trainers at the time. Like now there's a million, right? And I just cornered the market for the who's who in the Philadelphia area here in Pennsylvania. And that led to opening the health clubs. But I rode the wave, you know what I mean? And I said, not that I wasn't good, but there weren't other personal trainers, and I got in right at the right time. But I also had that sales background.
Yes.
And it really, really helped me. All right, so here we are in 2023. I was thinking of this when you were saying, you don't want to be too salesy, and how do you sell in 2023? And this is just a quirk of mine, and maybe it's just mine, but on LinkedIn, when I say happy birthday to somebody and then automatically sells me, I want to delete them. Now, is that just me? Like, I can't even say, hope you're having a nice day, and thank you for reaching out. And then I get a sales pitch. I mean, maybe that does work and it's just me, but it seems so salesy to me.
You mean when you, like, someone asks you for something straight away after you connect with them?
Yes, straight away.
Yeah. I had that happen this morning. I connect with someone, and then they're like, can you please like and comment on my post? And it's like, I don't even know you, and you're asking for something. And it's almost like this. I don't like that approach. I'm a big fan of Bob Burg's go-giver approach, and I found that works so much better, because what everyone's doing out, and it's just a better way to live, right? So what everyone's doing out there is like this go-getter. So it's like, I meet you, and then I'm like, oh, what can I get out of Sandy? How can I get some leads, or how can I leverage this, or how can I leverage that, rather than asking, how can I add value to Sandy? Because if I ask the question, how can I add value to Sandy, then Sandy's going to want me to be part of her life. And then the law of reciprocation happens where, where that natural connection and those natural referrals will flow as a result of that. Not necessarily even from this relationship, but maybe from somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that is the way I prefer to operate. And it requires playing a long game. And there was an aha moment. Like, there's been a few like mic drop moments in my life, and I think we all have them, right? Where you just like, it's like this big aha moments. And one of them, I was sitting in Fiji, I was reading the book, The 80-20 Manager. And one of the things he talks about, this is Richard Koch, he's talking about like networks. And up until that time, I wasn't a real big believer in networking. I was like a direct response, hardcore, write the sales copy, get the leads, get the appointments, send the emails, all that sort of thing. And then I'd say, one of the things I did, I started to look at as I'm going through it, he's talking about, you got these two types of lottery tickets in life. And he says, one is the red ticket. I forget what colors they were, but the red ticket is like, you spend 10 years and you become an engineer or a copywriter or whatever. He says you can't have too many of those tickets because you can't be a doctor and an engineer and a copywriter and an accountant, and generally you can't have 100 skills and put them together. He goes, but the other ticket is your loose connections. And he said, the more of those loose connections, you never know when those loose connections are going to come off, but having those loose connections, not even necessarily close friends, they're going to cash in at different times, and you never know. And then I started to write down all my best clients at the time. And one of the things that I noticed was that often those best clients came from and I'd never joined the dots before. I couldn't believe I never joined the dots before. And I'm like, I met that person. They became a client because I met that person. And someone else introduced me to them, and someone else introduced me to them, and someone else introduced me to them, and someone else introduced me to them. So it wasn't going to a networking event and handing out a business card and then following someone up the next day. It was like 5, 6, 7 deep, the connections, right? So then that was the aha moment that, if you play the long game with relationships, you get like extraordinary rewards. Like, I hadn't even been trying at the time. And since then, I've made a much more concerted effort to build relationships. I mean, years ago, I worked out that I don't sell to people, I sell through people. And what I mean by that is often I love that. Yeah. So often I'll be recommended by someone else to this person. So like, there's this instant credibility. And that's when I decided I had another event booked and I didn't feel like I had the positioning right. And I decided to just get a few friends together. And that's how I actually ended up starting a company called Elite Marketers, or it's a group, should I say, a group called Elite Marketers, and which is just some of the top marketers, particularly in Australia, getting together, networking, sharing, collaborating, all of that sort of thing. And that's had immense rewards on so many levels, both from an emotional perspective of just enjoying my work and my life more, a learning perspective in terms of just being introduced to so many amazing concepts. I mean, I probably wouldn't be here without what I've learned from within that group, and also a referrals perspective of generating referrals and that sort of thing through connections. And it's all very organic. It's not like this. So it's not like this pushed way of doing business.
Yeah. I could talk to you for hours, and I'm sad that we have to wrap up. But I remember, I was in my 20s, and I'm training people, and they were the who's who, like, and the who's who would refer me to that person and that person and that person, and they were all CEOs of big companies and sports teams. And someone's like, how did you get that? And I'm not saying I wasn't a solid trainer. I was solid, but that wasn't the thing. They said to me, my secret was, and it wasn't a secret, I didn't want anything from them. I wasn't trying to manipulate my connection with them. When I went in to train them, I was just there to serve them. Now, Scott, I didn't think of it that way at the time. I really didn't want, like, I knew who these people were, but they were hiring me to get the most out of their body. So that's what I was going to do. And because of that, they just kept helping me. I mean, they were calling me Philadelphia's favorite daughter, and I was the luckiest person. And I say to people every time when I mentor young people, I'm always like, how can I be in service of you? How can I help you? And it always comes back tenfold. So I love that you're saying this in a totally different way that I didn't think of. And I think it really needs to be heard. But we got to wrap up. We got to wrap up. It's sad. It's sad, Scott. I love you. You're awesome. I love the way you think. It's totally different than me, but it's the same point of view. So we're going to tell them how to reach you, but what did we get in that you want to say to people, in the last few minutes?
I think we've covered a lot of ground. So far, from the importance of those 5 seconds of being, and it's really those 5 seconds are going from comfort to discomfort, right? To master your discipline, master your day. Then we talked about email marketing, which is the single fastest path to the sale. So if I was to summarize the takeaways, which is probably the best way to use these last 5 seconds, it's the 5 seconds, it's start using your email list, and it's begin investing in your networks from a view of being a go-giver rather than a go-getter. I think they're the 3 big takeaways from this discussion.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so how can they find you? Reach out to you. I mean, there's no way I could get to all the questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there's a few ways. If they want, probably the best way, if you want to learn about like AI email copywriting, you can download my cheat sheets at simpleemailroi.com/AI. So it's simpleemailroi.com/AI. And inside those cheat sheets, you'll get like prompts that you can use. And I do talk about Jasper in those, but you can apply exactly the same concepts to ChatGPT. So that would be number one. Okay. Or you can go to my, if you want to find about email marketing, go to simpleemailroi.com or copywritingthatsells.com.au to find out about what I do on the copywriting side of things.
And what if, because they're going to want to work with you, is that how they should reach out to you? They want to work with you?
Yeah, if you go to copywritingthatsells.com.au and fill in the contact us form there. If you want to just email me, you can as well, which is scott@copywritingthatsells.com.au. So either one of those will, you'll be able to find me.
And we'll make sure we list all that. All right, my Let's Keep It Real people. Come on. I know you waited 16 years for this, but it was worth it. And Scott and I will really appreciate you rating it and telling everybody about it. And don't worry, it's going to be on every single platform. So be sure to share it. And you know what I'm going to say? Until next time, toodles. Bye, Scott.
Bye. Thanks, Sandy.